Welcome to The Explainer. In just the past few hours, a whole series of major global events has unfolded. We're talking everything from a dramatic seizure on the high seas to a multi-billion-dollar oil deal. Now, on the surface, they seem totally unrelated. But what if they're not? Today, we're going to break down a rapid sequence of moves that, when you look closely, seems suspiciously connected.
So let's start with the most dramatic event of the morning, which happened way out in the North Atlantic. The U.S. seized a Russian-flagged tanker, and get this, they did it even though the ship had a Russian submarine escorting it. So you have to ask, what in the world was on this ship that was worth such a high-stakes showdown?
To really get what's going on here, you have to look at the ship's backstory, because it is bizarre. This vessel, which is now called the Marinera, has been on a very, very strange journey.
Okay, so check this out. The ship starts its life as an Iranian tanker called the Bella 1, and it's heading for Venezuela. But then it spots a U.S. blockade, does a complete 180, and just bolts north. The Coast Guard gives chase for 2 solid weeks, and then, in the middle of the ocean, the crew literally rebrands the ship. They paint a Russian flag on it and change the name to the Marinera, right before it finally gets seized.
But here's the real kicker, the central mystery of this whole thing. This old, rusted oil tanker was completely empty. It wasn't carrying a single drop of oil. So what could possibly be on board that was so valuable that Russia would send a submarine to protect it and the U.S. would risk an international incident to grab it?
And while all this high seas drama was going down, 2 other major events were happening thousands of miles away. And they suggest this was definitely not just some isolated incident.
At almost the exact same time, U.S. Southern Command announced a second seizure. This time, it was a smaller Venezuelan oil tanker, and it was taken way down in the southern Caribbean. So let's just recap. That's 2 ships seized in a matter of hours.
And then came the money. The White House announced a massive new deal with interim authorities in Venezuela. The plan? To acquire 30 to 50 million barrels of sanctioned oil. Now, depending on the market, that oil is worth somewhere between $1.8 and $3.1 billion. A huge sum.
Then, just as we're processing all that, the focus suddenly shifts to the Arctic. A White House statement comes out declaring that acquiring Greenland is now a national security priority. It also confirmed they're looking at a wide range of options, and it explicitly said that military force is on the table.
Okay, so let's just step back and look at the board. We've got a seized tanker with some secret cargo, another seizure right after, a multi-billion-dollar oil deal, and now open talk of acquiring Greenland, possibly by force. It all happened at once. So the obvious question is, how on earth are all these things connected?
Well, according to the source analysis, all of these seemingly random actions can be tied together by a single, incredibly powerful motivation. And that motivation is oil. It's the central theme here. Every single one of these moves appears to be about securing, controlling, or disrupting the flow of energy resources on a global scale. So let's connect the dots. Seizing the tankers? That messes with the energy logistics of your rivals. The deal with Venezuela? That secures a massive new supply of oil directly for the U.S. The sudden focus on Greenland? Well, that's all about controlling the vast, untapped resources of the Arctic. And that just leaves the mystery cargo on the Marinara as the big wild card in this whole global energy play. As you can probably guess, making such aggressive moves on the world stage is already stirring up some serious controversy and political backlash, both here at home and around the world. Let's start with that massive oil deal. During the announcement, the president made a pretty stunning declaration. He said, and I'm quoting here, that he would personally control the billions of dollars in revenue from the sale of all that Venezuelan oil.
Right away, that statement sets off all kinds of legal alarm bells. The source material points out that this could be a direct violation of the Constitution's Emoluments Clause, which is there specifically to stop a president from personally profiting from their office, not to mention other laws that are designed to prevent exactly this kind of conflict of interest.
At the same time, that aggressive talk about Greenland drew a really sharp and immediate pushback, and it came from within the Republican Party itself. Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski said that any attempt to take Greenland would actually degrade national security, and that the U.S. should treat it as an ally to partner with, not an asset to be taken. So, when you step back and you put all these pieces on the board, the seizures, the huge deal, the threats, a new picture of American foreign policy might be starting to come into focus.
What we could be seeing here is a major pivot to what some are calling a resource-centric foreign policy. Basically, it's a strategy where the main goal of what you do internationally isn't about traditional diplomacy or alliances, but about the direct acquisition and control of natural resources.
And all of this leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought. After a morning like this, you really have to wonder, is the new world map being drawn not by borders and politics anymore, but by the location of vital resources like oil?